Alright everybody, let's start this video blog off with a bang. So, in the past few years when I've been doing talks, selling books, doing my thing, most of the questions I've been getting from most folks have been about indigos. Indigo children, indigo adults like myself, and they want to know the basics about them, what they can do to help them. You know, a lot of the folks that I've been getting questions from really are parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, people having to deal with indigo children in this antiquated old society. You know, the teaching, the schools are really just utilizing a very old linear dynamic, and I don't want to get into conspiracy theory about whether that's been doing on purpose or if it's just people not wanting to change and move into the future, but that needs to change. And a lot of these kids are coming in now with much more sensitivity, they're much more intelligent, they're much more rebellious because the system needs to change. And luckily we live in a evolutionary, spiritual, physical society where even outside the body we're making plans. And so a lot of these kids are coming in with these gifts, this awareness, this intuition, and they can't really function. Our old society, the old box doesn't fit, and we're trying to shove these poor kids into this old box, and about the only way we can do it is medicate them. The whole ADD, ADHD thing, a lot of the autism stuff is really us trying to shove these new generation of kids into an old box. A good example of the new kids and the system is kind of like software. These new kids are like new computers coming out. They have all the new software, all the Wi-Fi, all the new gizmos and technology, and so they're already plugged in, they already know everything, but then we're trying to put them into like an old telegraph society. You know, they're so much further beyond that there's no way they can function in that antiquated system. So most of what these kids are dealing with is they're bored. The whole ADHD thing, they're operating on so many more levels than previous generations, older society, and so they're not so much stupid or ADHD or anything like that. They're bored. You know, one of the examples I always give is that if you're talking to a group of indigo kids and you're explaining a castle, you show them a picture of the castle, you show them a little video, they get it, they understand it, they've already got it. But then in our linear sort of two-dimensional teaching model, we take these kids who already have the big picture, they already see it in their minds three-dimensionally, they've got the whole thing, and we take them back and start trying to tell them how a castle is built brick by brick and all that stuff. So they're bored. They've already got it, and we're trying to shove more information in them that they don't need because they already have it. So that example, the computer example, these are all just metaphors for what these kids are dealing with. So the whole indigo moniker, and granted, it's ironic, me being an indigo adult, I really hate labels and monikers because anytime we label something, we restrict it a little bit. We take away a lot of the open, fun, expansiveness of it. But in this case, with the label indigo, because it's used for a much more positive purpose, I'm a little more, I don't feel so bad about it because I know in my experience, it wasn't up until the time I learned about indigos, learned that I was an indigo, that I really felt that I was special and had something to offer. Before that, I was muddling along trying to figure out where I fit. You know, I could get along with everybody, I could kind of mold myself into whatever situation and kind of disappear into it, but I didn't really fit in. Like I got along, but it didn't fit in, kind of thing. So that was kind of my experience through most of my life, was being in a situation where I got along. Everybody seemed to like me, fairly well, but I didn't really feel like I fit in. And that's what a lot of these kids are. They come in with this extra sensitivity, with these extra abilities, with this intuition, very highly developed intuition. And then they try to function in a much more lower vibration, lower density, or much more dense civilization, basically. I mean, these kids may be operating on fourth and fifth dimensions, and we're in a three-dimensional world trying to get them to function in that lower dimension and lower frequency, which is really hard for them. So that's where a lot of the medications come in. We're trying to slow them down so they can function when they're at such a higher level. What we should be doing is trying to follow their lead. And so things like the education system, it's not about shoving them into our box anymore. It's about us learning how to work with them. Ideally, if we were to develop a perfect design for an educational system, we would not necessarily test the kids, but interview the kids, even at a young age, and find out what are their aptitudes, what are their interests, what are the things that they like to do, and then cultivate that. Because we all come in with interests, desires, strengths, weaknesses. And what tends to happen is, instead of focusing on those strengths, we get shoved in some sort of box where we're doing well in one area and we're not doing well in another area, but we have to, no matter what our strengths and weaknesses, we have to do well in all areas. Well, that's not real. It's not a real good way to do it. It's not really smart, because as we all know, there's certain things that I will do better than you and you will do better than me, and so we should focus on our strengths, because that's how we naturally are. That's our design. So by offering these kids new programs that focus on their strengths, we will actually benefit as a society, because you'll have kids, teenagers, college kids, grown-ups, as they move through the system and grow up, really just blossoming. We need these kids to blossom. We need these people to blossom and really develop their strengths, because that's how we're going to flourish as society. That's how we're going to move forward. That's how we're going to build a new utopian society. Move away from this old, polluting, environmentally damaging, soul damaging, mentally just stressing society, by utilizing all these kids' strengths, by utilizing my strengths, your strengths, by utilizing everybody's strengths and not their weaknesses. By trying to shove everybody in the same box, you're just cutting their legs out from under them, and in the long run ours, because everybody's here for a purpose. And honestly, their strengths is that purpose. That's the whole point of being here. That's why you chose to be alive at this time, was to help generate change in the world. So indigo kids, crystal kids, rainbow kids, it doesn't really matter what you call them. They're all here to help us change the world. And until we decide to utilize them, utilize their strengths, and help them through their weaknesses, we're not going to get anywhere. We're going to be stuck in the same doldrums that we're in now, where we're just spinning our wheels, trying to shove square pegs into round holes and trying to make these new things work in the old paradigms. It's kind of insanity. So when it comes to new kids, learn from them, okay? What you have to remember, and I know for a lot of folks this is tough, because we're in a body, we don't remember past lives, so for a lot of us it's difficult to fathom that you chose to come here, that you had lives before, because you don't remember it. A lot of people ask me, well, if I had past lives, why don't I remember? Well, it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you to remember it now, because with all the thousands or millions of past lives you've had, if you could remember them, how could you focus now? Because you remember all the people, all the family, all your kids, and all that stuff from your past life. There's no way you can focus now. And you have a purpose. You came here for a purpose. And your strengths and your desires and the things that make you passionate, that's your purpose. That's how you change the world, okay? So the same with you, same with your family, the same with the new kids coming in, with everybody. What you're passionate about, what you love to do, that's your purpose. That's the whole reason you came here. And most of these kids coming in now, myself, you probably included, we came here to change the world. That's why we're upset with the old paradigm. That's why we seek change. That's why we need to fulfill ourselves, because the old paradigm doesn't work. I mean, if you look at the first waivers, a lot of the baby boomers that came in, they were just almost 90 to 100%. I mean, a very large percentage of them have what we would call the midlife crisis. Well, what caused that? Well, they knew deep down that they weren't happy, but they went along. They did what they were told. They finished high school, they went to college, they got married, they had the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the job and all that, and then they got to their 40s and go, well, I did all this. Why am I still miserable? And then you get the midlife crisis. They go try to they get a sports car or a younger girl or quit their jobs or go on vacation, whatever. But that was a effect of them knowing deep down